Well, hello there. I am Coach Dana Spencer, and I have the privilege on the Dana Spencer Show where we talk about solving problems, building relationships, quitting corporate, and the freedom to walk in your God given purpose. And today we have some special guests here on our broadcast. We have the one and only Mr. and Mrs. Michael Ford Jr. in the house. Y'all give them a round of applause, show them some love. I'm super excited that they are here. So, to start off the conversation, let the people know a little bit about yourself and then how your path was able to connect with real estate.
You want to go first? You want me?
Go first, and then I'll jump in there and fill in the blanks.
Okay, put the pressure on me.
Yes.
Our journey is we both have, of course, we have a significantly sized family, a family of 5 children, and as we were putting our family together and kind of growing, one of the struggles was money. I mean, the struggles is money. And I remember at one point I was about 26, or no, I was 27 years old. And I believe I had 4 kids and a wife. And then I think I had one on the way. And just seeing the struggle of, paying for the house note and paying for vehicles and school, and it was always something. And I remember just praying and talking to the Lord and said, I don't believe we're supposed to be in debt. I don't believe we're supposed to have this kind of struggle. And so we began to pray, and so long story short, we started looking into ways to build our knowledge, because what we recognized was it wasn't that not just that we didn't have money, it was also we didn't have the knowledge to get money. And then we were struggling because we said, not only do we not have money, we don't know how to get money, and it seems like we don't know how to keep the money that we do have. It's as soon as the check showed up, it was gone. And so we started just researching, talking about it. We started having sometimes you, as a married couple, you can fight over money if you want to, but why not talk about it? Why not consider? Sometimes you blaming the other person. You're the reason why we're failing. But the truth be told is you're both the reason why. Until you both decide we're going to do something together about the issues that we have, then you're always going to have the same problem. And I think for me and Andrea, we took time to talk about it. I remember even when I would get a promotion on my job, we would come back and be like, well, she would say, she paid the bills. And she was like, still ain't enough money. And I'd be like, doggone it, man, this is what I got to do around here, And it could, as I tell you, even as a husband who is supposed to be providing for the wife and providing for his children, it was tough. And it was pressure and it was stressful. But I think the fact that I had a wife, both of us loved each other, and said, instead of us pointing fingers and blaming each other, why don't we take time and just begin to contemplate, begin to think, begin to research. And so we started looking for mentors. We started, when we would get an idea, the first idea I think we had was a network marketing. We jumped in some. I won't name the one.
Right.
But we jumped.
No
in,
shade.
No shade. We jumped in network. Sometimes people say the network marketing that didn't work. Well, truth be told, you didn't work.
Yeah, you have to work.
And so what we found out about ourselves through those processes, we got to one, and we did another one, and we found out that we're scaredy cats. We was afraid, and we were scared, and because these things tell you got to go out and you got to go sell to people, and we're like, what if they tell us no? What if they don't like us? What if they don't like the product? And you end up talking yourself out of it. But we found out things about ourselves. Then we found out, well, guess what? When we do go out, we're a powerful team. We learned that through network marketing. We'd go out and we'd say, I'm an introvert by nature.
I know we'll have to talk about that. I knew that was gonna come up.
I'm an introvert by nature, and my wife is not. She's the opposite of that. And so I know people would say, "Oh, it seems different." But the truth be told, she is a bit more outgoing than me. And but we would go out to different events and network, and we found that we were good together. Because she may not, even though she's more outgoing, once the conversation gets started, she'll pull back because she's like, I don't really want to engage in all that. And me, I'll jump in because I'm a conversationalist. So we found out, well, we were the perfect team. Long story short, it was through those times of deciding we weren't going to just sit there and be broke, but we were going to decide together, we're going to do something. And it was trial and error. We tried stuff. And we didn't feel like we failed at it. Some stuff we did very well at it. The thing just didn't make us money. And so we would try something else. And we got to the place where we stopped being afraid to try. And once we got to that place, then we got real scary, because then we started saying, well, what if we learn how? I had a dream about owning hotels. So we started saying, well, what if I go to school and learn how to do it? She had some things. She said, what if I go back to school and learn about engineering? And what if and it was through those conversations that we began to start this process and this journey of being really the people that we are today.
Oh, there is so much to unpack in there. And I just love I'm telling you, between you all and Team Maze, you all really help single people to understand the importance of two people work better together than one person. Yeah. That's amazing. So you're able to realize, you know what, these are our strengths. And I think when he was saying that you can lead out, but then you'll fall back, in my mind, it was the submissiveness. So how does that play into understanding who he is, understanding who you are, and being a submissive wife?
Yeah, that's a part of what I was going to go back to when he made mention of having to go out and he's making this money thinking he's doing good. And then he comes home and I'm like, oh, that's not enough. Well, him hearing that made him feel some type of way, but me having to deliver that information was also a struggle for me. So it's like, yeah, I see him going out and working, and he's working hard and he's providing for our family. But yet the numbers, I'm looking at the numbers and there's a negative here. So now I have to say, or else we just keep falling deeper and deeper. So now I have to say, well, we need to do something different, and maybe the way it was presented, can make you feel like, but sometimes if you have something hard to say, sometimes you just have to say it, so once you get it out there, now it's time for us to work together to solve that problem. So, then he talked about us looking for things to do, looking for ways to increase the money in the household. And, and one thing he mentioned was you got to try something. You never find the answer until you start. So maybe you start something and that's not exactly the road that you need to take, but along the way, we learn some things. We learn how to work together. We learn like what his strengths are, what mine are, how we put those strengths together when we go out to, encounter others, and then gather more information so then we can move to the next thing and be even greater in that.
So it's okay to try something and then realize, you know what, this isn't a match for us, and then try something different.
Absolutely.
And just keep trying and pivoting and trying and pivoting until you find the thing that works for you all.
Yes.
I think too, though, people have to be very careful when they're trying something. A lot of times we trying, and in our trying, we're barely putting in the effort. Then at the end we say, that didn't work. I tried. No, you didn't work. Right? One thing I think we have to understand, that there are no quick fixes. And there's listen, there's so many of us that look for these get rich quick. Even when we talk about in terms of real estate, sometimes I have to, salty the narrative up a bit, because when we talk about real estate, we say it's so sugary. It's like, this real estate, this is so delicious. Sometimes I got to put a little salt in there.
I love that.
And tell you, but it's hard. But it's going to take time. But you're really going to have to put a lot of effort in. Like, this is not, some people, I talked to somebody, it was like, ooh, I got my property, I'm rich. No, you broke now. Like, you officially broke now. And anybody who understands that first property that you get, chances are you're getting ready to botch it up a lot. And it's going to take a lot of work, and you're going to spend some money, and it's going to be hard. And I think people need to understand, anything that you do, if you don't pour yourself into it, it's destined to fail, right? The Bible talks about give, and it'll be given back to you, good measure, right? Pressed down, shaken together. And we always shout over that. Ooh, that
Running
sounds
over.
good, running over. But the truth be told is, yes, if you give yourself to something, anything, it should give back to you. So if you give, if I'm want to learn how to play the piano, all right. Well, I'll take, for instance, when I was a kid, I begged my dad for a saxophone, and I begged him for this saxophone. I said, "Oh, Dad, please, please give me this." And my dad having money, but after I begged him, he finally went out and got it for me. And then so I got it, and it was all them shiny buttons, and I'm hitting all the buttons, and I'm trying to blow in this thing, and it don't do what I thought it was supposed to do. And so I didn't play it. I didn't practice it. And then I just thought that it was going to be the saxophone that I heard somebody else play. And I started saying, this thing, it doesn't really work. Truth be told is, I never gave myself to it. If I had given myself to it, it would have given me music back. Right? But because I didn't give myself to it, it's the same thing. We say, I want to do school. I'm gonna go back to school. And then we come back and say, oh, that really wasn't for me. No, you didn't give yourself to it. Because if you were to give yourself to it, it would have given you knowledge back. Same thing with, if you're going to be real estate, or you're going to do a business, you're going to have to give yourself to it if you want it to give you returns back. And a lot of us, can I say lazy on this show?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So a lot of us are flat out lazy, right? We're lazy. We say we want something, and truth be told, oh, we want it, but how bad do you want it? Do you want it enough to actually give the effort that it will take to get what you want? I was in school. I went back to school as an adult, and I got there. When I was in school, I got decent grades. I mean, I got a good, strong, good, strong C-. And so when I went back to college, and I decided, I was a different person. I was adult then. And at this time, I'm like, no, I'm gonna work for this. And I told myself, and I told the Lord, I want straight A's while I'm in college. So I go back, and that's what happened. I got straight A's while I was in college. And I'll never forget, a young man told me, he said, Mr. Ford, you're such a nerd. I said, who, me? I was like, thank you, and he didn't mean it as a compliment, of course, but he said, Mr. Ford, how you get them A's? He said, I want to get good grades too. I said, you do? I said, well, do you study? No, I don't study. Do you do your homework? No, I don't do my homework. I said, well, I know you don't come to class because I barely see you in class. He said, so you mean you tell me I got to study and do my homework and come to class? He said, nah, I guess I really don't want an A. And he was the kid, so he told the truth. But that's a lot of us. Oh, I want money. Oh, I want to be successful. But how bad do you want to be successful?
Right. So, and how do you, when you think about knowing the difference and knowing when it's time to pivot? Like, so I think that I'm putting all my effort into whatever it is, real estate, having a business. How do I know I put enough into it and this just ain't it? How do I know when it's time to pivot?
You want that, or you?
Well, I was gonna say, so there's a point when you've done everything. So like you lay out step 1 down to, I know you like steps, step 1 down to step 25. This is what I need to do. And if I do these things, it's going to happen for me. So you can do all your steps, you cross all the T's, dot all the I's, and you do them 100%.
Yeah.
And then it don't happen. Well, now well, maybe let me try it again. And then if it still don't happen, okay, now let me see if I need to do something different.
Yeah.
Because there may be something else that when you go through all your steps, that it works for you. So you can keep pouring in. And then if it don't give back, you need to recognize, okay, by this point, this should be giving me something back. I know I'm doing all the steps. So then you move on and you find something that you can be good at.
That's good.
Mhm.
I think that's good because that was what I was going to say was, I personally will drive a thing until there's no other step for me to take.
Mm.
And then that's when I say, well, it must not be for me. But like if I have a deal that I'm working, it's a real estate deal, and so a bank closes the door in my face. To me, that's not a close of the deal. They just didn't have the pleasure of going to be able to work with me. I'm going to the next 10 banks till we get this done. Now, I might have a deadline before I got. Okay, well, maybe that deadline is the deadline. Okay, but then even when I've gotten to the deadline before and been like, well, let me see what else I can do. For me, if I believe in something, let me exhaust everything that I know to do. And then if it don't work, well, by God, that wasn't for me.
And even in your trying to do that, when you actually put the work in, you're going to pick up something along the way. Just like we talked about the different things that we tried thinking, oh, this is it. Oh, we didn't hit it big in that.
Yeah.
But we learned some things along the way that we can pick those up and carry them on to whatever we pivot to next. So you just make sure you carry it with you. Learn something, even if that thing don't work, learn something and take that with you to build upon.
So there's a lesson in every part of your journey.
Yes.
So let's talk about real estate. So let's talk about this first deal, because I'm sure that was a doozy. And I don't even know, but I just know real estate well enough to know that your first one probably wasn't the home run. So talk a little bit about what that first deal looked like.
So first of all, we had, because when you don't know what you don't know, you don't know. And we had tried to get a deal for it probably was 2-3 years.
Okay.
And we just never connected with anybody, and we just couldn't make it work. And then a lot of it is fear. I would let a bank tell me, no, well, I guess it ain't gonna work. And I didn't know. And then one day something hit me. I was like, hey, there's some people that that you haven't tapped into your circle. You've helped them. Why don't you call them and see if they'll help you? So that's what I did. I called a friend of ours and talked with him. Said, hey, I really want to do a deal. He said, all right. He said, find the place you want to get, and then let's talk. Well, I called him back the next day. I said, I found it. And he was like, what? I said, yeah, I found it. I know what I want to do. I told him about a house that I've been looking at for 5-6 years. It was empty for a long time. Come find out, it had been empty for 11 years. And so I asked him what to do. Here's the thing: if you're going to get a mentor, listen to the mentor. All right, like sometimes a mentor will give you stuff to do to see if you even serious about what they're doing, because they don't want you to waste their time.
Oh yeah.
So they give you a few hard things to go do. So he gave me some hard things. I ain't scared of hard stuff. So I like the day he give it to me that evening, I'm like, all right, it's done. He like, what? So long story short, we go. This deal was we went and got what is it called? A quick claim deed from a person. Found that person. Then we end up going to the auction again. My knowledge is not great, so I remember being in the auction, and I never even got to raise my hand. I was like, I said, and so after, because it was going towards my price, and then some lady jumped up. It was like 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 6,000. Some lady said 17,000. You messed up. You missed the step. So then everybody bowed out, and I was like, mad. And my mentor, I'll tell you, Troy Taylor. He hit me. He said, what's wrong with you? I said, I'm mad. I said, we didn't get. He said, see, that's how much you know. He said, you actually won. I said, how'd I win? I didn't even raise my hand. He said, because you're holding the deed. It had to go for so much. It didn't. Now it belongs to you. So I went back. We walked up and showed the lady thing. She said, yep, you're right. This is yours, for $17,000. Then so we go, and long story short, we put about $30,000 into fixing it up, and then it was appraised for, I think, a house that we bought 17,000, put 30,000 in, was appraised for 95,000.
Okay.
So, so then we said, then the next step was we Airbnb'd it. Against, and then we went against our mentor on that one. Our mentor he never even heard of an Airbnb before. So we was like, he said, Mike, you can get right now, you can get about $700-800 a month for this house. And I was like, well, listen, that sounds good, but I think I can get more. Oh. And so so long story short, we fixed it up, made it into an Airbnb. It was our first Airbnb, and everything went so wonderful. On the second day that we put it on the platform, we got booked. It was going to be booked for the weekend. Oh. I was like, oh my God. We was tripping this thing. Yeah, we rich. We made it. And he's going to make $300. But, but our first guest comes in, and they love the place. They call me about 7:00 in the evening, and they say, Mr. Ford, you got a big leak. The toilet is leaking. And then about 2 minutes later, now the tub's leaking. And then about 3 minutes later, hey, the tub is shooting out sewage out of the tub, and then it won't shut off. And then about 5 minutes later, he says, hey, we got poo running down to the ceiling downstairs. And I'm like, what? So I rush there, get there, and when I tell you, it was horrible, a complete mess, a brand new house that we just fixed up. But what we didn't know is, because it's set for 11 years, that there was actually roots in all the pipes. So the tree roots had come up into the pipes, and it flushed for a while, but then after a while, it just started backing up. So long story short, I called my wife. I said, hey, you gonna come here and help me get this poo out before, because the people, they left to go out to eat, and they said, hey, we'll be back. Do you think you'd have it cleaned up? So we get it all cleaned up. I couldn't get the toilet and I had to close that bathroom, but we had another bathroom. Okay. And we cleaned it all up. And when I get the Clorox out and clean all this stuff out and try to get my wife to come, she wouldn't come. And we fix it all up.
You had it under control.
Oh Lord. And then I put the people some money back on the table to just tell them, I'm so sorry this happened. Right? Because part of this is a hospitality business. Mm-hmm. They sent me something back afterwards and said that when the 2 days later after they left, they said, listen, not only did they take my tip, they left me a tip. Mm-hmm. And they said, we're going to leave you a great review, because you could have left us in this spot, but you came in an instant, cleaned everything up, got it all done. Bottom line is, it went from a horrible experience to a good experience. Yeah. And it let us know we can do this. Mm-hmm. Long story short, we got plenty more after that. So anyway.
So you mean to tell me?
Sorry for that long story.
No, it was a great story. You mean to tell me your first experience with a short-term rental, and you had this poop experience?
It was a poo experience.
It was a poo experience. And now you got more of those poo experiences, more of those. That didn't scare you away and say, you know what? Let's just walk away from it. Let's just flip it. How were you able to continue on even with this initial bad experience?
I think what was helpful was the reaction of the guest.
Yeah.
The fact that once they left, being in the midst of all that, but he came, cleaned up, I was willing to help.
No, she wasn't.
I mean, I was willing, but he had it under control.
She later got better, but that day she wasn't willing that day.
Well, but then after they left, and just letting us know, I think his words were no issues, because we were like, oh, all the issues, we apologize. He was like, no issues, like, thanks for what you did. So, so now we look at that and say, one, if something happens, we can take care of it. Mm-hmm. Two, things are going to happen. So now you can just expect it. Yeah. Things are going to happen. But what you do is you find a solution.
Yeah.
And you find it quickly. And we were able to do that. So then that gives you the courage to say, hey, let's do it again.
Yeah.
Let's do it again. Yeah. Because even though something happened that time, it's not going to happen every time, you know. And of course,
after
all these years have went by, the times of nothing happening outweigh the times of stuff happened almost 1,000%. Yeah. So yeah, it's been great.
but stuff is going to happen.
Oh, it's gonna
I
happen.
mean, you just got. I think that's part of setting your expectation that there's things that are going to happen that are going to challenge your business. No matter what business it is, there's things that are going to happen. We can talk about COVID. We could talk about, the different, whatever, all regulations and things change and made things different. But that's part of, meeting those challenges. I know you're going to say something, but let me say one more thing. Risk tolerance. Because I think a lot of people are risk adverse. I don't know how you make money being risk adverse. Because truth be told is anytime you're going to put your dollars out for something else, it's a risk. And you got to get to the place where you're okay with losing some money because you know in your heart, I'm going to get it back. Right. And I think when you get to, some people hold that money so tight, I got to hold on to this money. You'll never get any. You got to be able to have a risk tolerance that says, I'm going to release this money and I'm going to command them monies to go out and do some work for daddy. You go do some work for daddy, you come and bring some more monies back.
Right. So do you think in terms of people who might be listening who want to get into the short-term rental space, and you mentioned hospitality, what are some of the skill sets that you need in order to get into short-term rentals? And is hospitality one of those skill sets or one of those gifts that you need?
Yeah. One thing I think you need to realize, because I talk to real estate people who say, "Oh, I heard y'all making some good money in that short-term rental stuff," and so I'm gonna go do that. Well, let me push back a little bit. Again, I like to put a little salt with the sugar, and most time the salt is the truth. The truth is most real estate people are not hospitality people. Many real estate people look for the shortest way or the least expensive way to handle a problem. Well, hospitality is totally different than that. And then the other thing I'll tell you is the short-term rental, they make more money they make more revenue than a long-term rental, but they have significantly more expenses than a long-term rental. All right. So that's something, sometimes we're constantly trying to equal out to see, well, did we make money? Or surely we made more. So if a house was supposed to rent for 800 and we made 2,000, but then we look and see you spent 1,600, to handle the house. So those are the challenges in terms of short-term rental. But to your point too about it being hospitality, I think you need to have an enjoyment of people, because it's a people business. And, talking with people, engaging with people, it's a people business. People are going to call you and tell you their issues and their problems. Most long-term real estate people, they may hear from their tenant once every couple of months, maybe. They may hear something. Well, with short-term rental, you're going to hear from your tenant daily. They're gonna have a need. They're gonna, hey, the grill's not working. Hey, do you got some charcoal? Hey, do you got and you're getting these all. So most long-term rental people are not in that frame of mind. I don't know if you have anything to add to that.
No, I was just gonna stress the fact that you have to be able to talk to people in a way that they're like, oh, I want to stay at your place. So if they're asking questions, you're like, oh, quit talking to me. It's gonna be there. Then they're like, I won't be back, and I'm not gonna tell my friends to stay there either. So the way you respond matters a lot. Because sometimes people are just talking because they want to see what you say back, so they'll know what their experience is going to be like. So if they say, hey, we're coming in town because my little girl has a basketball tournament, and then I say, okay, good. Well,
that ain't hospitality.
Yeah, that ain't hospitality. So I'm like, oh, great. How old is she? She's doing very well. How long have you been in this? Oh, we're so happy that you're coming to Louisville. There's some other things that you can do while you're here. How long will you stay?
Right.
Things like that. And they're not
Are
like,
you all hearing this?
yes.
Are you?
Yeah.
That is so good.
So you engage with them, and now they're like, oh, they feel welcome to stay at your home. And then say you have an issue. They're like, oh, it's okay. It's okay. We know things happen. Oh, you're going to fix it. Oh, thank you. Rather than if I just was short and didn't engage, then they'll be like, your sink is broke. Get over here and fix it now. And I'm reporting you, so all of that matters. All of that matters.
And the bookings that you get are based off of reviews. So your rating, everybody that stays at your property rates your properties. And so they rate it. So those are based off of their reviews, and that determines whether or not they show back up again.
Yep.
And then the other thing is, there's so many different regulations that you need to follow. And in Louisville, there's really not just in Louisville, but all over the country, they're really changing different regulations and keeping up with the different regulations, making sure you're on top of those things. It's challenging. It's challenging. And another good thing is if you do decide to go there, really having a conversation with neighbors and letting them be a part of your process a bit. I know we've had great relationship with a number of our neighbors who, there's times when they say, hey, your guest forgot to take the garbage and put it in the back, but don't worry about it. We did it for you. Because we have that kind of relationship. And then it's reciprocal. We've had times where the neighbor said, hey, I got family coming in town. How can I rent your place? And then wink, wink, they looking for a little discount too, so yeah, here, let's scratch each other's back,
Yeah, I love that. I love that. So, and when we think about real estate, the one thing that you'll hear a lot is that real estate is a relationship business. So just talk about the importance of relationships as it relates to investing in real estate, whether it's a short-term rental, long-term rental. Talk about the importance of those relationships.
Yeah, there's so many relationships you need to have. You mentioned earlier about the banks, knowing where to go to look for funding, even if that's not the one that you end up with, because you may go to them and they say, oh, for this, you want to go see so-and-so over at this bank. Or you want to go ask this person about that. So you want to build relationships pretty much everywhere you go, because you never know what kind of deals coming up next, who can introduce you to someone that has this idea, who knows this person. And it's like a ripple effect, but you want that ripple to be good. So you want your relationships to stay positive. So, because if one thing happens where you treat somebody wrong, well, they're not only not going to refer you, but then they're not going to tell their friends about you.
Right.
So all of that matters. Relationship is key. It's key.
I think, again, when you're dealing with real estate, there's, like she said, so many different relationships that you need to have. And we talk about it in Master Builders Academy, all the different relationships that are important to your real estate business. Your attorney is important. Your CPA is important, right? Your having somebody that's been in the business a while, a mentor is important. We talk about Master Builders Academy. Of course, we meet every other Saturday. And one of the things that we do there is to have a network of support. Sometimes being a lone ranger is not only challenging, but it can be lonely. And there are times when you really just need somebody to even understand your problem. Like, they can't do anything about your issue, but just to have an ear who understands and says, oh, I've been there. I remember that happened to me too. Right. And that helps you. And so sometimes being in an organization like Master Builders Academy, where you have a bunch of people who are in the real estate space and can also give you some advice and point you in the right direction. And you can say, hey, where do I get a dumpster from? Hey, who changes locks? Like, who does? And there's somebody always around that you can say, put them on speed dial and say, hey, I need some help in this area. Or what would you do in this situation? That's important.
And before we leave the short-term rental conversation, I can remember when you all were setting up some of your properties, like, oh, I know somebody with a dresser. I know somebody with this. And you're like, we don't put dressers in our property. And I stayed in a short-term rental in Atlanta. And I was looking around. I was like, man, the force would be like, no, you shouldn't have did this. You shouldn't have did that. You shouldn't have. I mean, it was so decorated. And I was looking around like, this was way too expensive. So what are some just tips, some just simple tips that you would tell people as far as setting up the place, like the things that you don't necessarily need, but everybody wants to make it all pretty and decorate, and what are some easy things?
No, but it needs to be decorated. It needs to be nice. I think what we were trying to convey was everything that you like is not necessarily what a guest will like. And so you got to be careful making things, sometimes you can make it so you specific. And then you're thinking about, oh, this is what I like. And you're not really thinking about a traveler. You're thinking about you living there. But a traveler has different needs than you. And so making sure that what's in the home is what a traveler would look for. For an example, we put plugs everywhere. We put extension cords all over the place. We put because when you got guests there and maybe there's 7-8 people staying at a place and they all got their phones out and they're like, man, there's only 2 plugs in this room. So we put strips there so people can have, so there's different things that a guest that is traveling would need than a person that's just staying there. And that's what we try to get. Here's the other thing. You need to know your market. You need to know who you're trying to reach. All right. So maybe you're looking for families. Well, you need to have what families would want in their short-term rental. If you're looking for business people to show up, if you're looking for nurses to be there that's going to stay long-term or something, each of them have different needs. And so you need to cater your home toward that particular need. That's what I think it's what I was trying to convey.
Yeah, that's really good. That's really, really good. Because I remember, so when I first bought my property in the West End, I'm like, I'm going to do a short-term rental in the West End. And everybody else was like, oh, that's not going to work. But who was I watching? People who had short-term rentals in the West End. How important is it to look at people who are doing what you want to do as opposed to the people who are saying, oh, that's too risky. You shouldn't do this. You shouldn't do that. And you talk about mentorship a little bit, but how important is it to make sure that you're looking at the right people as role models and examples?
Listen, that's not just short-term rental. That's everything. I tell people, I get people to come to me as a pastor and tell me, pastor, talking about their marriage. I was talking to so-and-so and she said I need to do it. I'm like, wait a minute. She's been divorced 3 times. Why are you listening to her? I remember when we were coming up and we were trying to get our money together. We was trying to learn. We had a guy came and he was kind of young and he was giving us all these things. He was telling us, you need to do this. You need to do this. I said, wait a minute. I said, have you done this? Well, no. I said, do you have any money? No. I said, get up. You're gone. I said, you're here with no money trying to tell us with a little money what to do with our little money. No. If you're going to get advice from people, get advice from people who are experts in the space or who have done well in the space. And, I think even when you talk about in terms of where are you going to put no matter if you're putting your Airbnb or your short-term rental in the South End or East End, wherever you try to put it, the bottom line is you really should research and find out from people who know, who's in the space. Because what you'll do is you'll make a mistake because it seems like an okay place for you. And then you wonder how come nobody's coming here because it wasn't an okay place in the first place. Right? So.
All right. And just to switch gears a little bit, since you said you're a pastor, so that leads into where I wanted to go. In terms of, we hear money is the root of all evil, right? We hear that. And the way you began with, you just didn't believe that you were supposed to be broke. Like we serve a big, abundant God, but yet a lot of people want to quote the scripture of, money is the root of all evil. We don't want to make too much money, and but you need money for ministry. You need money to do outreaches to the community. You need money to shout outs to you all for having a free concert with Marvin Sapp. Shout out to Marvin Sapp. That was an amazing concert, by the way. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. I digress, but it was an amazing concert. You have to have money in order to do those things. So as a pastor, help other pastors out there who are afraid the deacons don't want to do things and the people don't want to have building funds or whatever. Help them out as far as why you need money, especially with the church.
Well, let's listen. First of all, them that quote that scripture, they've been quoting it wrong. All right, because the Bible says the love of money is the root of all evil. And there's another scripture that says, money answereth all things. They don't ever quote that part.
Oh, yeah.
I don't ever quote that. But that's here's the bottom line is it takes money to do the things that you need to get done, and ministry costs. All right. There's nothing that you can do to go out and get things done. It costs. Just to have people, invite people. What if we didn't get no money in? What building are we bringing them to? What when we get in there and it's 90 degrees outside, what's the air conditioning that we got in there? When it's freezing outside, what's the heat that's going to heat the place? It's funny. People always talk about they don't want, people, churches asking for money. Well, it's funny because we'll go to the ball game and they're asking for all kind of money. We'll pay ball players millions of dollars, right? And what are they doing? They're catching a ball. But then when we're helping people live their life in a way that, number one, is godly, but number two is helping them grow as people. We're helping families, helping marriages, right? Helping children, helping our community. Those things are important. And of course, in the Black community, the church is one of the most important entities in our community because it is the place where we come together. It's one of the few places where we can come and agree on something, and it's those places, those spaces help us to find unity. And so when we talk about money, I would say to any pastor, don't be afraid. We say it at Christ Temple that we're building a church of wealthy people. And people say, well, oh, y'all about that money. No, we're about helping our people grow. I believe there may come a time where you're not going to have the ability to get to kind of get the money that you want to get. Okay, that may happen. But while it's not that way, why don't we go get that money? When we get that money, why don't we help our community? That's what we're doing. And then when we talk about what we do with our money, most people don't know, but Christ Temple started churches in Kenya, East Africa. We're expanding across the globe. We help the ministry, we help them not in terms of just their spiritual growth, but also in terms of housing. We do wells and schools. We built 3 schools there in Kenya and East Africa. And so all of these things we've helped. I think one of our leaders sent us a thing back because we've been doing this now for, I think, 16 years.
Oh, wow.
And now we went from one small ministry to we have 31 churches there now, 3 schools.
Well, praise the Lord.
And our lead minister called us back. He sent something back one day and he said, hey, I just wanted you to see, we got a report of some of the kids that graduate, some of the first kids that graduated 15 years, 13, 14 years ago. He said they are our lawyers now. They are he said they are the teachers now in the school. He said a lot of them are in the political space. He just mentioned, he said they're injured. He mentioned all these different people that these kids have become. And why? Because Christ Temple people gave of their substance. They weren't afraid to give. And I'm gonna tell you something, just like anything, if you're not afraid to give, God won't be afraid to give back to you. That's my belief.
Right. That's awesome. And then, so and you mentioned Master Builders Academy earlier. How did Master Builders Academy start? Was that an idea that you had, or
Yes.
How was that?
So yes, that came to us. We were praying. I don't know if you remember, I think it was right before President Obama became president. We were in what they wouldn't call it a depression, but it was a show enough recession. Everybody was losing their jobs. And I was watching our congregation, and I wasn't the pastor at the time. I was one of the assistant pastors. And I was just looking at the congregation. I was just praying. I said, Lord, us as Black folk are some of the first people that are laid off from their jobs. And I was just watching that. And the Lord kind of he kind of got on me. He was saying a lot of it is not about being Black. I know that's not a popular thing. He said a lot of it's not about being Black. He said they don't know what to do. And so we started doing Master Builders Academy to teach people things that we're doing that have made us invaluable. Like we weren't valuable enough. Listen, if I'm running a business and you're super valuable to me, listen, I don't care what color you are. I can't get rid of you because I need you. And one of the things we teach at Master Builder Academy, I think you've seen those before, these classes, but we have people who are working their career, but they don't volunteer for anything. When there's opportunity on the job to go to get some extra training, go get, hey, we need somebody to come volunteer to help with this. That ain't in my job description. And so we don't realize that we're missing out on opportunities. And so one of the things Master Builders Academy starts saying, why don't we look at these things that we're messing up? I had a lady who come to me, I think this was maybe the first year that we was doing Master Builders Academy. She had a master's degree. She was well educated. She said, I've been on my job for about 15 years. She said, I go up for promotion every year. I never have gotten one, never. But I watched her. In our settings. She never volunteered for anything. She never raised her hand for anything. She didn't interject. She was a sit back person. If you told her to do something, she would do a job you told her to do, but that was it. She did the bare minimum. And we start showing her, if you do it this way, I start working with her. She calls me probably 6 months into her coming to Master Builders Academy, and she tells us, she said, oh, you won't believe this. I just got a promotion. And I was thinking, I said, is she different? Is she a different person? No, she's not a different person. What she did was she started changing some of the things she was doing badly. And so that's what Master Builders Academy started doing. If we start looking at, we're making small mistakes that are making big ripple effects, right? And so that's what we had to change. And I think that's showing big dividends for all of our people.
And I think why I'm even more thankful about Master Builders Academy, because personal development was introduced to me via corporate.
Okay.
And so from corporate, it felt like, oh, it's another one of these things they're making us do, not having that willing spirit.
Right.
But since I received personal development from Master Builders Academy, I'm like, oh, this personal development, this is a good thing. Yeah. So then when I was able to go back to corporate and there was trainings and there was opportunity to volunteer, you're like, yeah. And then, oh yeah, me. Yeah. Because I got it outside of corporate. Yeah. And so that's what I tell people now, is that I think personal development got such a bad rap because of its introduction from corporate. Yeah. If more people were a part of organizations like Master Builders Academy, where there's no reason, or the only desire for gain is to see people improve, we're not going to get anything outside of maybe membership. Right. Our goal is for you to develop as a person. Yeah. Whereas, like I said, the stigma with corporate, I think that's why everybody is just like, I'm not doing it. This is another thing that they're making us do, and not seeing the value in personal development.
The biggest thing for Master Builders Academy is your mindset change. Yeah. The way you look at things will change your whole life, because just, automatically you go into corporate in these different settings, and without you knowing it, you're coming at it from a negative point of view, always looking at it like the person is out to get you, out to do you wrong, out to hold you back, out to keep you down, want to make you do things you don't want to do. You're looking at it from a negative standpoint. Right. But good. Coming to Master Builders, we show you that that's not the case. Take a look at yourself. There's so many things you can do. Stop looking at it like somebody's trying to keep you back. Go do those things. Yeah. That's where the volunteering comes in at. And then people start to see like, oh, she can do that. Yeah. Oh, she can do that too. So it comes first with you changing your mindset and then going into these different situations and settings differently with that positive mindset, and then people see you different, and then the opportunities just come flowing. That's right. Yeah.
Unbelievable. And I just think about COVID, we hear them say, don't waste, a pandemic, or don't waste this situation. Yeah. And when we first had to go virtual with Master Builders Academy, and then, we're on Zoom or whatever. And then I believe that was my first opportunity getting to speak, was because of COVID. Okay. And so then there was an opportunity to do an interview with a panel. And I was like, oh, this kind of fun. Yeah. I kind of like this. Yeah. And look how this is developed. Yeah. So it's unbelievable. You don't know what you like, what you're good at, until you have the opportunity to do something different.
No, that's completely. I want to go back to what she said about your mindset. I think that is the thing that we're trying to teach at Master Builders Academy is your mindset is affecting everything you do. And so our mindset, she talked about, this ain't my job kind of thing, but also the fear, like there's a fear. Many of us, she talked about it come from a negative spot, but a lot of it is also fear. We are fearful all the time. We're excuse makers. Many of us are lazy. Let's just be real, okay? We have problems that we don't like to admit. It's so much easier to blame it on you. Oh, it's you. The reason why I'm in this way because of you. No, okay, maybe they did something, but you can't change them. The person you can change is you. And until you get to the place where you decide, I'm not going to just stay this way anymore. I'm going to stop making excuses. I'm going to stop being lazy. Right? Call it what it is. Maybe you want a different term or whatever.
A procrastinator.
I'm a procrastinator. No, you're lazy. And you won't but then I don't know how many times, I think I told a story before. A friend of mine, they was talking about how they wanted to get in real estate. And then so I would call them up and I say, hey, I'm going to look at properties. I'm going to do blah, blah, blah. They were like, on Friday? Oh, that's my off day. What do you mean off day? You don't get an off day. You're broke. What are you talking about an off day?
You don't get an off day if you're broke.
Then I was called one time. I said, "Hey, jump on this call. I'm working on. I'm teaching about blah 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 about this real estate stuff." And the person said, "What? That's my TV time." And I was like, see, a lot of time we like to say, "Oh, this is the reason why I'm not accomplishing something." But the truth be told, if you really take a look at yourself, your priorities are wrong. Mm-hmm. You put your feel good in front of your success.
Ooh.
And until you get to the place where you say, no, I'm more hungry to achieve this thing than I am to go on my trip. Or I tease somebody who's trying to get a house, they trying to get a property or something, but every time I look up, they buying something new. And they told me they got a new stove. I said, what's wrong with your old stove? Wasn't nothing wrong with your old stove. You just wanted a new stove. Why don't you save that money to go get that new property? Then I look up, they done did the whole kitchen. Hey, wait, that whole kitchen, you could have bought a property now. So a lot of times we need to take a good look at ourselves and see that, or if you take a good look in the mirror, you would see you are the problem.
So if I take a good look in the mirror and I realize that I am the problem, then what next? What can I do to permanently, or at least head in the right direction of changing my mindset?
I would say, again, you gotta ask yourself, do you want to change? Oh, it's one thing to even know. You can look at yourself in the mirror, and you can see I stink.
I'm a mess.
I'm a mess. But then the question is, are you willing to do something about it? Mm. I mean, let's be honest. How many times we looked in the mirror and say, doggone it, I'm fat. Like, you fat. Like, I'm fat. And then you got to still decide, when am I going to do something about it? Yes. You look at the mirror and say, I'm fat. I can't fit nothing. And you'll go right back down to the kitchen and eat the thing you ain't supposed to eat. Well, I guess I might as well eat this then. I'm already fat. No, so once you determine this is my issues, then decide, am I going to do something about it? Am I willing to put in any work? I was telling people, somebody came to me and said, yeah, I heard that Master Builders Academy, y'all about that trying to be rich. And they said, I don't need to be rich. I'm comfortable. And so I asked the person, I said, you saying you don't want to be rich? No, I don't want to be rich. And I said, so if I give you $1 million, would you take it? Oh yeah, I take it. I thought you said you didn't want to be rich. I thought you didn't want it. I said, what you should have said is, you're not willing to do anything to be rich. Mm-hmm. And see, rich is relative. I think that we talk about what rich means and what wealth means. It's more than just money, right? But most people are comfortable with just enough. They're comfortable that they make just enough. And when the boss tell them, you take your little week, you can have a whole week of vacation. And they comfortable with that. Can't go nowhere because they ain't got no money. Or they do go somewhere, they put a bunch of money on a credit card, and then I'm gonna pay it back over the year. right? We comfortable with that. But until you get to the place where you say, you know what? I'm not comfortable being broke. I'm not comfortable when I die, I have nothing to pass on to my children and my grandchildren, but some shoes. But some clothes. You know, our families and our Black families, you know how many times we're fighting over dumb stuff after somebody died? I want Granny's shoes because Granny don't have nothing. I want grandpa. I want mama's. Give me mama's dress because mama. That's all mama have. So we fighting over things that they don't have any value to them, and it's because we haven't taken time to build that for ourselves and for our families. I'm talking too much. I'm gonna stop.
Now, obviously you've said a lot of things that have been monumental in my life, but one of the things that you said that has probably made the biggest change is when you're watching other people on television, you're watching somebody else live out their dream.
Mm-hmm.
I promise when you said that, I don't own a TV. Like, I don't even own a TV. Like when I moved out of my property, I'm like, you know what? Y'all can just have that TV. I wasn't looking at it anyway. So what are some of the things that we can do to move in the direction of, you know what? Let's start on this journey to leave something besides a dress and some shoes to the next generation.
Yep. One thing is we talked about, trying something. Well, the first thing you have to try is to try to change your thought process. We talked about mindset, but you got to start there, because until you start thinking differently, you can't go any further. So just like you said, you left the TV. Well, if I didn't think that I could do anything bigger, I'm going to keep watching the TV.
Yep.
I'm going to bring that with me. So now first I have to change my thought process, change my mindset to say, I can do these hard things. I can do these other things. I have talents. I have gifts. I have things that I can put to use that will bring about some success. I do have those things. Now I got to find out what they are. So then I find out what they are and then start using those in these different areas that can bring wealth, that can bring success. Because one of the things he said was, oh, I'm doing this. I'm working to make just enough for you, not for anyone else, not for your children, not for your community, church,
people in Kenya,
anybody, people in Kenya. You can't help anybody if you're only making just enough.
Back to what you said about the building other people's dreams. I think I can't remember the number now. There's tremendous billions of dollars that African American people spend here in the United States. We are probably one of the number one. We spend as much as most countries do. We consume so much and we have so little. And a lot of times our children, our families, our men, our women, we're building other people's dreams. When you listen and buying their music, you're building their dreams. We love sports more than anybody. We love our athletes and we're cheering. We were so upset. All of us were spending time day after day worried about Lamar Jackson's money. Lamar Jackson is filthy rich. He got more money than you gonna have in your lifetime. And we were, I don't know if he's gonna get his contract. Why are you worried about Lamar's contract? What about your contract? We play video games. You know why young people play video games? We like to be the avatar in the video game. We build an avatar and we put our name on it. And we're cheering for all these different people. We're spending money for their success. And you never take the time to think about, well, what about me? When am I going to spend this kind of money on me? On me building my dreams up. Maybe you have something that you said, I want to accomplish in this life. I want to leave a legacy for my family. I want to do stuff. I want to change the trajectory of my entire family or my generation. Okay, when are you going to get started? You can't do it playing video games. You can't do it smoking weed all day. It ain't gonna happen. I told a guy, he was telling me, he was like, oh yeah, he's trying to get a job. And he said, I didn't, I smoke weed just a little bit. I'm not addicted to it. Then he told me he smoked weed over 5,000 times. And I said, let me tell you something. If you have the time, I ain't got time to do nothing 5,000 times. That's dedication. That's some real dedication to some weed smoking. And he said, but I'm not addicted though. I'm like, until you get to the place where whose dreams are you building? Am I going to take the money that I would spend for this and this and this and this? Am I going to take that same money and then begin to build the thing that God's put in my heart? Sometimes we forget you got purpose. All right. I know we wear 23 and we like Jordan and we like LeBron and all that. Listen, God bless them guys. All right. God has already blessed them guys. You know, at what point do you look at yourself in the mirror and say, you know what? It's my turn now.
That's awesome. We could be here all day, but to put a bow on this entire conversation, what is the one thing that each of you would say to our listeners, whether regardless, what's the one thing you want them to walk away with?
I would say get started doing something to head towards your dreams and your success. We was talking a little while ago about what to do. Well, once you get rid of the TV, go get some books. Go to YouTube University. Look up some things. And maybe you don't know what you want to do or which direction you want to go. It can help you with that too. You start reading, you may say, oh, I'm gonna read on real estate. I'm gonna read on real estate. But as you're reading that book, they may say something that's you said, I think I might be interested in doing that. And then there you go. Now something sparked and you can head that direction, you know, so just get started.
You remember when we first started Master Builders Academy, we would charge $5 for people to come to the forum. They get a 2-hour forum where they get training, all this stuff. And we'd have people come in like, $5? These same people are spending money on all kind of frivolous things. But when it's time to invest in themselves, they don't want to do it. They'll invest in tickets to see somebody go do something, but they won't take that same money, invest in themselves, invest in their learning. And that's a challenge to each of us. I know, Dana, you have a course. They want to learn about real estate. Take Dana's course. I'm like, what? So, how much you charge, Dana?
Well, right now it's on sale for $697, but once it goes live, it'll be $1397.
Okay, so you'll get people like, $697. I can't pay that kind of money. But those same people are paying DirecTV, cable. They got Disney Plus. They got Amazon Prime. They you know what I'm saying? They got Apple. They just went and bought them a 80-inch flat screen TV. They got a PS5. They paying $60, $70 for a game. No, you'll pay for that lie, but you won't come and pay to invest in yourself. You got to change that mentality. You got to turn anybody who's wanting to grow. You got to be willing to invest in yourself. To start saying, you know what? This is the money I got. I'm going to go get a class. I'm going to take a training. I'm going to go to somebody's mentor. I'm going to get mentored by somebody. Grow.
All right. And last but not least, how can they find you if they want to? I don't know if you have, I've been trying to get you all to do a short-term rental class or some sort of course, or how can they find you all?
So you know that because I'm a pastor, some of these things that we were doing before we were pastor, I don't really put it out there like that anymore. So every time my friends call me in and say, hey, talk about this, I'm like, I don't know what to talk about that, because I also have to preach the gospel to the people, and so that's a challenge. What I say all the time, I'll get people say, Pastor, oh, can you mentor me? No, I'll tell you how I mentor. I'm there on Sunday morning mentoring. I'm there on Tuesday night mentoring. I'm there on Saturday for our Transform Men series every Saturday or every other Saturday. What is that? The first and third Saturday. I'm there at 8:30 in the morning. I'm there at 8:30 in the morning. The other 2 Saturdays, the second and fourth Saturdays a month at Master Builders Academy. I'm doing mentoring every place, and that's how you can find me.
And that is at the Christ Temple Christian Life Center, 723. That's my birthday. 723 South 45th Street. Thank you all so much. It was a pleasure talking to the both of you. and just do something. Get started, do something, and invest in yourself.
Thank you,
Until
Dana.
next time.
Thank you.